couple of things
Perfect.
around,
Perfect.
but I haven't sent it anywhere yet.
That's
I
perfect.
wanted to send it back.
Yeah. I was gonna send it over to Andy to see if he wanted to add something to it,
Okay.
because
Okay.
Andy had said he was
Yep.
willing to collaborate.
Okay.
Good evening and welcome to the Wednesday, September 4th, 2019 Goffstown Economic Development Council meeting. Before we get started, we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Before we get started, Joanne, we'll start with you. Go around the table for introductions.
Joanne Duffy, Planning and Economic Development Director.
Tim Redmond, Planning Board Representative.
Chet Bowen, Select Board Representative.
Gail LeBrecq, I am a member and recording secretary.
Charlie Tentis, Chairman.
Greg Rodriguez, member.
Bonnie Gaven, member.
Thank you. Before we introduce our guests, we'll go through some of our normal things and get those out of the way so that we can have our guests from Concord come up and share with us. Thank you for coming, too. First one will be the acceptance and correction of minutes from our August 7th meeting. I don't know if everyone's had a chance to take a look at those. Any questions or comments or corrections? I did not see any.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from August 7th, 2019.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Thank you. Business page month to month, are we gonna discuss that later, Joanne, or is that something we wanna bring up now?
Where do you see it? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you can, it'll only take a second. So this is the last, this is actually for the month of August. I
August.
just received this the other day. And it looks like most people went to the Business Economic Development page, 92 people. However, now that the page has been changed, have you all had a chance to look at it?
Yep.
Looks very good.
It's great.
That's awesome.
Everything is now on one page, and then there are links, you know, depending on, it says learn
Learn
more.
more.
If you want to look for further information, you just hit that, and it will bring you to the details of whatever that link was for. And I think it looks sharp, it's much more friendly looking and easier to use, but also brighter, and I think if we could get a few pictures on there, photos of some local businesses and things, I think that would be a good idea.
Yeah, the ones that I have on the thumb drive, I gotta
Yeah,
get to
and
you.
we can maybe put those as part of, behind the banners, instead of those generic things that he's used. And then I also had him add the stories that were recently published in the USA Today and the Union Leader. And then he was able to consolidate those files that we had from the Fiddlehead, is that the name of it? Fiddlehead magazine.
Yes,
So, yeah, I think it looks a lot better. So it'll be interesting to see for next month.
what kind of reads we get.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought he did a great job. It has some jump and pizzazz to it, so I think it's outstanding, and we can only add more to it, too.
Brian and I met with Derek the other day, and we said, like, let's just get this done, let's just do it. So we went over a couple things, and he was able to have it done by 4:30 that afternoon.
That's great.
Yeah.
Weren't some of the pictures on the bottom, I mean, of all the businesses and
Yes.
everything?
Mhm.
Some of the
Banner
rotating
is
That was
there.
really awesome.
Yeah, but again, we only have 10.
Yeah, we gotta
So
get
I know,
more of them.
I know.
We still have to
Yeah, I
get
did
more.
notice.
We need
that.
to work on that. And
Yeah.
Chet had a possible idea about trying to possibly get an intern or two to work on that.
Yeah, so I had a conversation with somebody on the Goffstown Industrial Committee and was telling him about this plan, and he thought it was a really great plan. So then I got to thinking about it afterwards, and I know that they have some resources. And what I thought we might be able to do is make a pitch about getting an intern. Joanne sent me what we need for an intern. As far as qualifications, get an intern to go out, because I know Charlie, we talked last time about how everyone's busy, full-time jobs, it's hard to get out there. Maybe we can get somebody from St. A's, get an intern, maybe pay them a little bit to go out there and do some of this work during the day. The testimonial sheet's pretty clear. I mean, it doesn't take a whole lot.
It's
so-
very clear, and if we can get the commitment and they can help plow the field, so to speak, that would be great.
So maybe Joanne and I can put together a quick proposal to them, see if they agree to it. Even if they don't, maybe we can get an internship for free, but
That'd be great.
Just a thought.
That'd be outstanding.
All right, so we'll take care of that, Joanne?
Yes,
Great.
definitely.
Chairman, thank you. Joan, we have a budget, don't we? $5,000 budget?
We do, and we've only spent $100.
Yeah, so
this
we have
year.
our own budget that we can use
We
to
have
pay
funding
for
for it.
an intern's time. We don't have to have anyone else pay for it.
No?
So
I
we
think
use
it's
our own
great.
budget.
Okay, we can do that too.
Good.
Joanne, one question, when they go to learn more, does it take them away from the Goffstown website, or do they stay on the website?
For the most part, they stay on the website, but for example, like for the 79E information, they stay on the website. But for something like the businesses for sale, for lease, that takes them away to that Loop program. So not always, but most of the time, it is within the website itself.
Can we, and I know it's that other social media thing we're still working on, is that something that we can even say something in social media about the improvements we're making on the website? That can drive people to it?
I don't see why not. Again, I have
Add
to check
anything you
with
want.
Derek.
Yeah.
You can do anything.
but-
I mean, even if it's just, the quick splash page,
Yeah,
hey, there's something different now.
right, okay.
You wanna come check it out? And that might help drive people even to go to the website to look at it.
Even an intern could be a social media,
Yes.
like savvy in that, so that would,
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say
that'd
that.
probably, yeah.
Exactly.
This side of the table is pretty,
Yeah.
I like the intern idea, thank you. That's a good one. Anything else on that?
No, that's it.
I think it's great. It looks excellent, and it's a good beginning. I think we're ready for our guests to come up and share with us, so we don't keep them here all night. Why don't you come on up and have a seat and introduce yourselves, and the floor is yours.
Been a long day already.
Thanking you for coming and
That's
spending the
our
extra
pleasure.
time and sharing with us.
That's a pleasure. Hope you can hear us all right. So, hi, I'm Susie Pegg. I'm the Economic Development Director for the City of Concord. I've only been in this position just over 2 years. I used to be formerly the Vice President of International Business Development for the Pittsburgh Regional Alliance, based in Pennsylvania, and I actually covered a 10-county region back there. My role back then was to look after the international businesses we had invested in the Pittsburgh region and attract new international ones. So I was very used to dealing with very small and mega large like Shell, which is a multi-billion-dollar project. So I have a big raft of dealing with clients like that. As you can hear, I'm not from America. I'm from Sheffield, England, but I've now been 20 years in the Concord. And they're like scratching their heads going, what did you do? You were traveling all over the world and this and that, and then you came to Concord. I was coming to what I call the end of my business cycle in the Pittsburgh region. I felt I'd done quite a lot. I took what I felt with a group of us, a city that actually people used to think was just coal mines and steel. And if you look at it today, it's a phenomenal city. It is.
I was just there this weekend.
Yeah, you know what I mean. You go. I mean, I still remember going to Google on the West Coast with Carnegie Mellon, and them saying, "Could you just put a little office in Pittsburgh, just a little one?" And they went, "Okay, we'll just put 2 in, 2 people." That office is now 500 people, and most of the technology for Google is actually coming out of Pittsburgh. And so, I say to people, try and find a smokestack. You ain't going to find it. And then when they had the gas boom, I mean, that's really fueled that tri-state area as well. So I was dealing with all the gas companies too. So the reason I came to Concord, I was looking for, I call it a pet project. I kind of laugh at that, but I wanted to take all the knowledge that I'd done working with businesses and in economic development and go to a city or a town that I felt I could really give value to. And Concord, ironically, had not been on my regional radar screen because it's north. And I was trying to move south because I didn't like snow and ice and all the rest of it. But the opportunity passed me by a headhunter who I knew. And he said, "Susie, this is right up your street. This is exactly what you should be looking for." And the city manager apparently saw my resume and said, "Do whatever you do to get her," because she knows what she's doing. I do sit on the board of the International Economic Development Council, IEDC. I used to run their steering committee for their chair for the international. So I feel like I bring a wealth of that knowledge to a city. What's interesting for me, we're just talking about website. First thing I said in my interview was, you need a website because the one that you've got is terrible and no one's going to come shopping through his website like that. I understand perfectly, it's a city, conventional, I get it, that's for the residents. But when you're trying to attract somebody to it, it's your shop window and they haven't got time, energy or money to look at that, especially in the site selection world or the client world. So I commend you. I did have a look at your website, so because I'm just nosy, and I commend you for what you're doing. And always keep it fresh. That's my thing because it is your shop window. But what I did when I started in Concord, first thing I had to do was create a brand. They had no brand. They weren't no one's radar screen. It was really important to start building that brand out and how it looked. And I had to use an agency to do this because I couldn't do it on my own. I used to have a team of 12 back in Pittsburgh, and I'm a team of 1. So, yeah, you get that. So it was really, how do you build that brand so then you can start going for business attraction and business retention? And it's took me a good just over 2 years to build that knowledge out, to get that look. If you've not looked at our website, investconcord.com, I like it. I like the way it's clean. It's got good content. The whole marketing pieces that run out from it are well done as well. And I have to do this within a very tight budget as well. I only really have a $50,000 budget, and that also includes my travel to conferences. It's very tight. I have to be very clean with it. So it's one of the things I also did the first time ever for Concord in April. I actually took them to Canada. I took the mission to Canada. So we went international. And we were talking to 10 Canadian companies about the opportunity in Concord. Because you can sit here and do everything, but if you don't go fishing, you ain't going to catch no fish. And I also use another tool called Gazelle AI. And Gazelle AI is it's an expensive tool. I'm still debating whether it's worth the money. But what it does, it starts looking at companies that are looking to move to the northeast corridor of the United States. It could be anywhere, you just put in where you want the geography. But it's already done the groundwork for you because I don't have a research team. I don't have people looking for me. So I have to use some kind of kit application to do that for me. But it's quite expensive. It can be up to $9,000 a year for this piece of technology. And again, it substitutes the research team I used to have in Pittsburgh, but it's somewhere that I can start be proactive, looking for leads that are looking through the entire New England corridor. So where I am now as an economist, I've been talking a lot here trying to lay down the stories, but where I am right now is I've built a shop front, I'm building the shop out, now I'm taking it for a good shopping ride, I'm taking it for a ride and seeing what happens. Managing expectations has been a challenge because people suddenly want, it's going to happen tomorrow. Good luck with that because it ain't going to happen tomorrow or yesterday, even worse. And so I'm trying to meet regularly with our city councillors to educate them on what economic development is, because some of them don't get that, especially some of our new councillors. And just explain it's a plethora of looking after what you've got, bringing in new businesses for the tax base, but also in this case workforce too, because without the workforce you can't attract new businesses, and you even have challenges retaining businesses. So those 3 pillars are really important in economic development. The other challenge I think we have in Concord is we don't have enough developable land, and I feel like going out with a bulldozer sometimes and knocking some things down. Oops, it's gone, I've got land. Because it's when I'm talking to clients and I'm like, man, the ceiling heights aren't big enough in New Hampshire for manufacturers. They built them small, We need them bigger, because especially if it's plastic manufacturers, they need a bit more ceiling height. And we need, you know, what I call pad-ready sites. We need them ready to go so that clients can say, okay, I'm ready to do that. So that's some of the challenges, managing expectations from that. So that's basically where I am and what I'm up to. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
What agency did you use for building the brand?
Altos. They're based in Durham. I think they are, yeah. Bedford. And the reason I like them is they'd never done a municipality like us before. But talking to their design team, it was a really good back and forth. They weren't very expensive. They weren't really cheap. They were just really, I want to say it was 15 grand. But what I liked is they used the Concord Coach, the O, as moving forward. So it looks a little bit like our famous, you know, delivery system, but don't tell them that, because I don't want them to sue us. But it looks like a coach wheel going forward, so a nod to the history, but it looks extremely modern. And when I put that on letterhead or when I put it on marketing materials, it looks good. But their creative team's really good.
Go ahead, Ted.
You talked about pad-ready sites. How do you work with the planning board with applicants to present an application to the board for a site that is not designated for any use at the time? So how do you work with the planning board to get that accomplished?
Well, it's a little bit different up here because what we had in Pittsburgh was we had a redevelopment authority.
Okay.
And we were able to use the RDA, and we were a little creative in how we created some money through private investors to basically help us on a 50-50 match to bring these sites to site ready under the RDA. So the RDA would buy it and then work with us using some money from us to bring it up to that standard and put in water, sewer, utilities and the rest of it. Here it's different. Every case is different.
So what are you doing in Concord to try to create pad-ready sites?
That's
Anything?
the whole problem. I have issues because people, we can't as a city put things in when it's someone else's land.
That's right.
And that's your issue. So unless we have something like an RDA or something of that nature, like a third party that can purchase and build up the money to actually put investment into it, it's a little difficult. That's the challenge I'm seeing up here in general. Whereas in PA, we had that third party with the city and the county.
Have you floated the RDA concept to the city council in Concord?
They're not there. They're not there yet.
Okay.
They're not. We're going to be going through a cycle of elections coming up in November. That would be, I think, mind-blowing to them.
Because I'd like to see pad-ready sites that developers, that a prospective client would buy and build.
Correct.
But getting there is such a bureaucracy
Mhm.
with everything from parking to lighting to water, sewer, and gas. It
Yeah.
seems almost impossible to get there without the lot having a designated use at the time of the application to the planning board.
Well, under our ordinances, you know, if it's residential, it's residential, unless we change the ordinance. Or if it's, if it is, I don't know, for manufacturing or whatever. My feeling I get up here is that people sit on these things, they don't want to put any investment into it. And then the moaning, and this, I keep getting this on a daily basis, the moaning saying they can't sell the land or they can't get anyone interested. And I'm like, well, what are you doing to make it so that people can actually get access to it? And it's like, well, we don't want to put money into
They
it.
want the developer to pay for it, the new developer.
And that's not where people go nowadays. They won't do that. And so that's the issue we have is if somebody had the foresight to create something like an RDA, how we'd do it up here, I'm still trying to figure out. We were able to tap in into a lot of old money, as I call it, the old steel money, the old mine money. And banks are pretty, because of who we were pretty okay borrowing to us on a very low rate. Up here, I think it's creating what would that look like for New Hampshire? because what model I used back in PA, I don't think I can use up here. It's a different mentality. But I'm one of these. I'm a bit of a tiger. There's always a way around it. I've had to. She knows what I'm like. What I've had to do for the first 2 years in Concord is keep this shut and these open, because that's the way. Because as times I've wanted to go out and say, and I'm like, no. You know, I've got to be careful, I've got to be demure. But then, you know, year 3, I think, oh, Rottweiler with lipstick's about to come out and start biting, because it's like, man, it needs it. But it's, I take your point, it's so frustrating to me, because when I'm talking to a prospective client developer, and I'm talking to developers out of Boston right now on some stuff, and even some down into New York and PA, you know, they ask me about PED-ready sites, and I'm like, oh, I wish, you know, this is the challenge. But who knows, there may be someone out there that can have the foresight and work with me, and we can create something like that may help create these sites. But again, some people, they want to develop sites that half of it's not even developable. It's underwater. And they're moaning at me, well, why can't you get someone interested? Well, it's underwater. You want to put a gas station on it? I don't think that's going to happen. And so it's a mentality. And that even in our downtown area, we have some fantastic buildings. I mean, beautiful buildings. But, you know, the people that own the buildings are sitting on them. And they're asking if someone wants to buy them, they're extortionate amounts. No one's going to buy them for that price, but they think they can make a buck and run. And it's a shame, because we've got such huge potential for downtown, whether it's office space, retail space, living space, that I wish people would just kind of, instead of saying, you know, eventually they'll go off the planet anyway, they may give us an opportunity to, you know, they're at a certain point in life and family don't want to take them on. I mean, we're among family, so we get that, but it's a shame, because it kind of holds up development downtown. And there's only so much we as a city or as a municipality can do. You know, there's only so much money, there's only so much things we can do.
So,
Yeah.
I want to follow up. Can you hold on for a second?
Of course I can.
So Charlie, maybe this could be a focus of the Economic Development Council, is to maybe create an outreach program where we identify these properties, especially on Mass Road down the business corridor where the commercial industrial flex zone is. Maybe we could reach out to some of these property owners, even if it's as simple as a letter from the council. You know, based on our information, if we could get some of these sites prepared with sewer and water, even if it's only stubbed onto the property, make the connection to the main, stub it onto the property, then it could create a better opportunity for them to market the property. And it's sure there's going to be some expense, but you have to spend money to make money.
You
It's
have
an
to spend money
it's
to
an
make
old
money.
saying.
That's absolutely right. So you're getting closer to that
So
pad
if we-
site ready edge,
Maybe we could create
but you're
some sort
not
of
quite there.
some sort of an outreach program from EDC to reach out to some of these landowners.
It's a great
Thank you, Bonnie,
idea.
for holding.
No, that's okay.
Good
Actually,
idea.
that was one of the directions I was going, but the other direction was, have we ever thought of having an economic development councils statewide, so that everybody in economic development can come together and maybe create an RDA, which would benefit all the communities? I mean, I think that
Well,
collaborative.
where does an RDA originate? At the state level or at the community level?
Well, there's the big cities.
Yeah, big city.
Big
It's-
cities like
it's like the
Boston.
county.
Yeah.
It's county, city.
Right.
And you found each county will have in mine back in Pittsburgh we had 5 RDAs for Southwestern PA, because it was that big. And you forget we were bordering on Ohio and West Virginia as well, who had their own RDAs. I agree what you say. I work with Taylor Caswell, and you know my challenge sometimes is getting the state engaged. And it's like, well, with PA, I took 4 governors overseas in PA, and the governors all knew me. I mean, that's how close we were. And their entire team used to work very closely with me. So I was used to working in cahoots. What got me so they got a prospect for Pittsburgh. That was the first one they picked the phone up to. Here, I might hear about prospect looking at Concord via a realtor.
Right.
And that's when my kaboom stick goes off and I'm picking up the phone to Taylor saying, what the hell? Because if I'm hearing that from a realtor, this is not the right MO to work. So I'm finding the state quite challenged in, they have a team that's been there quite a long time, that are used to doing things in their own way, and I get that, and total respect. But please have a nod to the municipalities that you're looking at, and have some respect that if someone is particularly looking, or if there's an RFI or something, bring us in. And it's not such a big state anyway, and if we can get at least someone plonking somewhere in the state, it will help all of us, not just one city or one town.
Yeah, see, one of our challenges is that a lot of the land, there's no water or sewer, there's no infrastructure.
Correct.
So that's a big challenge for
We have
Goffstown.
water sewer on most of our commercial industrial frontage.
When Taylor's predecessor
Yeah.
was
The
there.
thing we're missing is the high-pressure gas.
High pressure
Okay.
gas,
You
right.
would
Natural
bring
gas.
everyone
But
in,
still.
That's
depending on,
interesting.
where it was.
That to me is, I'm working on them. I'm working on Will and Taylor, because I feel, I every so often I feel what I call the coming to Jesus ceremony. We sit down and say, come on, I'm not some Hicksville that's not done this. I've been doing this 20 years. I know what I'm doing. And, I've helped them to help their international team because I know what I'm doing on the international front. And, when you work with clients of a certain caliber, they expect these things. And if we don't do it, we're just immediately crossed out of anybody's, it doesn't matter who you are. It's just, well, don't bother with New Hampshire because they ain't got anything. And, at the expense, Boston's getting so expensive. And, that people, I had this thing in Pittsburgh where we used to compete against Boston on life sciences. And we ended up getting people coming to Pittsburgh because the cost of Boston, and this is 5 years ago, was extortionate. And that concentric circle of cost is being pushed to the point that we're actually the next bastion of people should be looking at us.
Yeah.
Not only that, because of our access into the Canadian market, but also we've still got access into the Vermont, we've got the PA market, the New York market, without the cost of Boston. But we've still got access to the airport, the ports, we've got everything there because it's still in close, proximity. So, I feel that there's still a lot to be done as us as a unity. And I'm trying to find out, they did have the state had an economic development company do their economic development plan. And it was a company I knew very well from Pittsburgh who used to feed me stuff on what they were doing. And it was interesting because they actually rejected the plan. And the company who I knew came to me and said, just read this and see what you think. I said, this makes total sense. We get it. It's yeah. And they said, well, they've actually rejected it. Wow, okay. So that's another conversation you do have with Taylor and Will because they're just across the road, for God's sake. That's the come and have coffee. Let's figure it out for all. So even though I'm for Concord, I'm actually for all of us because I feel, especially in my role as an IEDC member, a board member, we're there to help others, bring on board, that rising ship. And it's all right for a lot of the big cities. They're doing well. Things are great. So the economy keeps going. They're doing really well. But people of our size, it's a challenge. It's a real challenge. And, I'm trying to look at ways that we can help each other to come up together and find a way that it's not about competition, it's about working together. And I have a lot of IAZC board members looking at me and what I'm doing because, one, they were fascinated when I skipped ship from PA to here, and they're like, man, what tell us more. But I feel that Concord can become a model for others to learn and do different things from, and how we do things, good or wrong or right, it can work. We can do it.
I think us laying the groundwork like we're trying to do right now is going to pay off because to your example of Boston and the Ring, the reason we haven't really been economically viable in the past is because we don't have the interstate highway cutting through our town. Hooksett, Bedford, Manchester. But it's only gonna be a matter of time before those towns are built out.
Correct.
They run out of space.
And the
Manchester's
next
already
step
doing that.
from all of those towns is this town, right here.
Correct.
So I think if we continue to lay the groundwork, we continue to be diligent,
They
I
will
think
come.
if, it will come to us. It's just gonna have to come at its own pace.
Yeah.
We're never gonna drag it here by the neck and say, build over there. It's not gonna happen.
So
No.
maybe that's the opportunity with these RDA ideas. Like you said, the big cities, Allegheny County and Pittsburgh and those big areas, Boston, Greater Boston,
Well-
they can do it a little bit differently. Here it may be, a county or regional RDA that involves Manchester and Nashua and perhaps Concord and then these other communities around it to get that critical mass to try to do it. I don't know. I don't know enough
You've got
about
the
it.
people like the CDFA and others. I mean, you've got these individual financial institutions. But has anyone really come up with what I consider a proper RDA? That's where I'm thinking. And you'll get some of them, like Steve Hebner, arguing that he isn't a kind of an RDA. But I don't think they have that capital to leverage as much as what we'd like to see. Not to the extent to get these sites ready. And again, you've got to speculate. It's a gambling game, and nothing's guaranteed. But I know that we used to call it something. I'm trying to think. Business in Our Sites was the program, and Sites SITES, and it was so successful over the first initial 4-year program that we actually worked on refinancing it. Especially because of the gas boom, what was happening was we were having a lot of companies wanting pad-ready sites from Canada, from the UK, all over the place. And if we didn't have them, we couldn't keep up with demand because they needed to be in, built out, done, ready to go, because of the way that the gas boom was going. And so I'm not saying that we're going to have a boom like that, but we at least need to have some kind of vision that we can actually say, let's try this on a couple of sites and then market those sites and see where it goes. But again, it's up to the owners of those sites to have some skin in the game too. I get very despondent when they're like, well, if they want it, they come and buy it. They've been
Take it or
selling
leave
for-
it.
Yeah,
Here's what I have.
here's what I have.
Who
Yeah.
operates who operates the RDA? Who controls the RDA?
Back in Pittsburgh, it was an independent board, and it had my CEO on it. Now, I work for public-private partnerships, so I had my CEO on it. It had someone from the city, one from the county. It had its own independent executive director, and then it had a couple of project managers on it.
So did the RDA operate on a nonprofit basis? They were not looking to make money on these sites?
No.
They wanted to turn a profit on a site after they got it into the authority.
Yeah, well, what happened was it helped the money stream for the next site and the next site.
It
and
kept
the
All
feeding
those-
itself.
Now, how many of those people were on payroll?
You would have had the executive director and the two project managers, which actually grew because we couldn't keep up. We had to bring some more.
And the
project
project managers were there to build the sites or just to
Work with
get the
the,
sites ready?
with the guys to get the sites ready.
Okay.
So they weren't there, so they'd help market it, but basically they were there to work with utilities, whomever.
Just so it becomes a pad-ready site.
Because, right,
And then a corporation buys that from the RDA
Yeah,
and they take control of it.
correct.
Do they get a loan from the RDA for financing? Or do they have to provide their own money?
It depends on which client you're talking to. Some wouldn't need it.
But
Some
were
really
there,
wouldn't.
were there clients who borrowed
I-
from the?
They didn't borrow from the RDA, they would borrow from other institutions.
Okay.
So the RDA specific was to do with that particular pad ready. If they didn't have the money to buy the pad outright, which was your tax base basically, I doubt they could have built, because they were to buy it and build, so the construction costs and the rest of it. They may have we had certain incentives as well to work with. We don't have had those up here. That's the other issue we've got. So we could work with incentives on R&D or equipment, or if it was a manufacturer, they had tax breaks if they were a manufacturer.
I was gonna ask you about the taxes on the land prior to when the RDA had it. Did they pay property tax on their property, or were they tax exempt to the municipality?
I don't know, couldn't answer that.
Because that would be a huge differential to the RDA, because if they bought a pad and got it pad ready, and then they sat on it for a year or even two, that's, now the
Oh,
money, now the money's going out the window.
I doubt they would pay tax because it would be under, say, the county or the city or
It
whatever.
would have to be a quasi-government agency to not pay taxes
That
on
makes
it.
sense.
It probably would. Again, I wasn't involved in, I just worked with clients to get whomever to make it work. But it probably was not paying tax on it. But it worked, and it's just a challenge because you see these vacant lots and you're like, man, we could just really do with something like that. And to me, it's we've been talking about, you told me, the extension, Thingy Road extension.
Which one?
Oh, God, I can't forget. This is
in downtown,
yeah,
Store Street?
Store Street extension. So Store Street extension, if it happens, sorry about it, it's like, I've not had enough caffeine today. Store Street extension. If that happens, that creates me at least 4 sites that I could use if we got rid of those goddamn awful New Hampshire. You know, if anyone knows any bulldozers, really honest to God, oh dear, how shame.
Are you talking about the old DOT building?
There's one in my garage if you'd like to borrow it.
Oh, man, is that and a match?
These are the ones behind the Holiday Inn, along the highway.
Yeah,
One thing that's not mentioned in your,
yeah.
one thing that wasn't mentioned in your discussion was the, in the asset department, and not on the technological side, but on the skilled labor side, there's no better skilled labor than there is in the Northeast.
Mhm.
Because you, anywhere else in this country, and they don't have the skilled labor that starts at somewhere around Washington and goes out to Pennsylvania and up to Maine. The skilled
right.
labor is, this is where all the industrial revolution started, right here in this piece of the country.
Yeah.
And the skilled labor in America is concentrated in the Northeast.
Well, what's interesting, again, you'll find a lot of the colleges, the tech colleges, you'll see that. Plus, it's a lot of manufacturing, you know, mom-pop
Right.
kind of things. And so, you're right, you'll see this like a triangle. It even goes down to West Virginia, Ohio, because I used to work with those community colleges too. So you see a lot of that particular thing going off. So you're right. But it's just the labour part of this, the workforce is so important. You know, first, it's usually top three is labour availability. And you've got to prove you've got labour availability. That even incentives have gone down.
We've got a problem that our unemployment rate is only 2.3
Yeah.
2.1, I think.
or
Point
something.
one, yeah, it's
Almost
low.
full employment.
Us in
But-
Hawaii.
But you could also be creative, because when I was working in Hooksett, GE wanted to expand. And they were getting some younger people coming in, but it wasn't all that they needed because it was quite a large expansion. So they teamed up with the community college and they created their own course
Right.
for what they needed. And then they got the new employees from that, and it worked out
That's
really
right.
well.
So they were homegrown,
Smart. Yeah.
homegrown people.
Yeah.
And you'll find, because that's, funnily enough, the new head of NHTI in Concord, she was from the county college working on training initiatives back in Pittsburgh. So, and she didn't realise I know her, but I know her from when I used to work with that when they did the same thing. And it used to be Bayer, used to do their programs on how to be a technician in the labs. Soon as they graduated, Bayer got them, put them in their HQ.
And they were good
They were
paying
good paying jobs, yeah, every time. And they'd even pay for them to do their first degree, their undergrad, if they were good enough. Even welders, I mean, these welders were making a fortune. I mean, they're up there. And, you know, the people were like, Chevron was paying for them to do through welding school, got them because they needed them, and then paying for their degrees through school. And it's so imperative to work with your local community colleges and your employers to get those programs together. I've seen it work, but we're just kind of a bit laggard here. But once she gets settled down up at an HTR, I'll be remember me.
You can see the shift in the dynamics now, because even Eversource Public Service is advertising for apprentice linemen.
Yeah, they are.
You used to have to know somebody to get a job at Eversource.
Yeah, you wait for years to get in.
If you started out as a meter reader, you'd work there 10 years
Before you
before
could
they
get
even
in.
give you a chance to learn something else.
That's right.
But now, they want to bring kids right out of high school into the lineman program because they can't get linemen.
I know.
It's the same with all the trades.
Yeah,
Manchester Community College is running a program tied in with Eversource,
that's
where they're going to classes there and then also employing them. So
Oh, yeah.
there's their tie already.
It's that
Point is-
apprenticeship idea. That apprenticeship idea is so critical. We're going back to that now. And what people have said, finally, I hope, it's like, you don't have to go to college for a 4-year degree. Because actually, if you're in the trades, you can be making twice as much as that and have your money paid for, basically, because they'll be sponsoring their education. So you don't even come out of college with debt. So finally, the heads are thinking, oh, maybe there's a different way of going forward in my career, rather than just going to undergrad and coming out and still having debt up to the neck.
And
You
their
know?
jobs are there. They're right there.
Correct.
Having trouble filling positions.
Yeah. But it's a
One of those
challenge.
guys
I love challenges. That's why I'm here. I'm like, man, I must be crazy, but I think we have a great region here. I feel home here. It's again, when you're looking to attract people, they look at me. It's about live, work, play. It's not just about a job. It's not just about a house. It's the whole 360. And I feel so lucky that up here we have the whole 360. And there's times I want to catch my breath, because I think I'm living in one of the most beautiful places in the United States, and people are fantastic, and I can do all different things in different seasons, and it feels like home. And that to me is priceless. So I think we've got a great asset here. We need to just keep telling, like this, through websites or through blogs or through social media. Keep telling them how good it is, and word of mouth will get out. And in Pittsburgh, what was interesting, when I first went to Pittsburgh, the downtown area, no one lived downtown. It was dead. At the weekend and after the theatre closed, it was dead. There was no decent restaurants there. It was awful. I mean, it really was awful. Fast forward now, people are now living in the downtown area. Point State Park is like friggin' Paris Park with dogs everywhere. It's these little poochers everywhere. And there's people with sippy cups, and you know what's in them, but no one says a word. And they're all congregating, and it's like, there's pavement cafes, and there's great restaurants, and there's a vibrancy of what we used to joke about, 24/7 city. Nah, it actually is becoming that way. And so I look at what I saw in Pittsburgh, so I know it can be done. So I just have faith that it'll wave out up here eventually. We just need to be a bit more patient, and we just need to keep doing our jobs the best way we can. That's the way I'm. Yes, sorry.
Chet?
So I know that you had said municipalities can only do so much, but have you had any luck talking to the building owners that you said are selling their buildings at extortionate rates?
The sane ones, yes. There's
Yeah.
also some insane ones, which I don't know. Because you're never going to, because they're just never.
And the more you talk to them, the less they're going to be agreeable to anything.
Correct. But the ones that are, I mean, I said to one the other day, I said, because he's trying to do something, I said, just sell one of your bloody buildings, it will finance the other. And he says, yeah, but it's in the family. And I went, who cares? Who cares? I said, just sell it. So I'll get you somebody, because I know someone will take it off your hands. Then that gives you the capital to reinvest into what you really want to do. Because right now, the way you're trying to do it, it's just not going to work. And he looked at me like 2 heads, and I'm like, man, you can't keep sitting on it, because you're going to have to start refurbishing it. We're changing over to different gas lines. Some of the buildings, the older ones, there's a couple that's not even changed over to the new gas lines. So God knows how they're heating them. But again, there's a couple that are just, as much as I would love to talk to them, it ain't gonna happen. And I think, again, they're the ones that are getting older and older and older, that eventually they're closer to the end than the start, and the family will just want to get rid of it. Then that's an opportunity for someone to step in. And it's a shame because some are in some key positions. But I try and keep very close to the business owners. They know who I am. I keep the people that own the buildings, that is. They know who I am. You know, there's a handful of developers in Concord right now. They know who I am. I said I want to expand the gene pool. I'm tired of having the same old, same old. We're ready for new. So I'm reaching out to developers further out to try and get them involved, and maybe they've got the right type of money in the checkbook to make things happen. It's going to take time, but yeah.
So how are you currently using social media? Because you sort of go get that three-pronged thing you talked about, take care of your current business, try to attract new businesses, and of course build the workforce. So how are you using social media now to do those three things?
Well, we've got Stephanie now on board,
Stephanie.
which is really important. But when I first came on board, before Stephanie joined, I created a Facebook page called Susie Concord NH, and that was done on purpose because that's telling my story through my eyes on Facebook about how I'm creating Concord for me. So telling my stories about I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Again, in social media, you've got to be real careful and you're not showing too much of yourself on it, because that platform is specifically me as a business person, but also someone who's living there now, creating my own world there, so that people can see Concord in through my eyes, and find that attractive. And I've also done videos that we've been sharing on different platforms as well. Not just my videos, but through entrepreneurs that we've got downtown, businesses that we've got invested. We use them on different social medias, whether it's Facebook, on the websites, Twitter maybe. Occasionally, we've had Twitter, haven't we, recently on that? Instagram. I use my LinkedIn. My LinkedIn's got 900 right now, global. And so I tell my story, not all, don't have to all the time, but every so often on LinkedIn I'll do something that's economic development based or Concord based and what that means. I usually base it off the city council report that I give each month. I'll take something from that and reuse it, repurpose it, so that people can go, oh, I didn't see that, that's interesting report, didn't know that, and then bring up to date on the website as well as a blog. So different ways, different platforms. Again, having Steph on board is great because she gets how we, and I'll let her talk in a bit, because how we get all the different departments working together. Because before Stephanie got on board, you'd have PD, you had fire, you had this. No one knew how to work in conjunction. And so it was critical we get a PIO on board. And especially because we were trying to tell that whole story from different perspectives, and that's where she came on, and we work really closely together. We don't we? We do. Yeah.
Yeah, I came on about a year and a half ago. So April 2018, I took the position. So I was kind of like Susie blazing the trail before me. I was the first PIO the city had ever had. So everyone was kind of like, what's she going to do? You know, is she going to tell me what to do? Is she going to take away my social media page? But really, it's kind of been the opposite of working with the departments and kind of bringing everybody under the umbrella. So we kind of have the overarching city brand, but then we have the departments that are doing different things. So the way that we work together is really taking the content and then trying to repurpose it the best way we can. So when we have a video, it's on Susie's website, but it's on our city Facebook page, but it's on our city Instagram. So it's using one piece and then seeing all the different ways we can use it. So it's kind of maximizing those efforts.
And we're lucky to have a local TV, Concord TV, which we have a great relationship with, and Stephanie's been working closely with them to build that video content, which was critical. We need to tell our story through video. People watch videos. As long as they're short, don't go on. And we've actually even started a podcast series
Yeah,
as well.
so we do a podcast every month.
That's good.
Do you?
And we're definitely not
Thank you.
professionals, but yeah, we
That's
just
fun.
we just celebrated a year, I think, of our podcast.
We have,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we tag team it and we take turns having community members come in or department members come in and just talk about different things. So
Telling the
it's,
story.
it's been a cool
Yeah.
thing.
And it's funny because some people, the entrepreneurs that we had, and then we also did videos with them, they got an amazing following. And it's great because they're two young people that have started businesses downtown that
Mhm.
are fabulous spokespeople. And, you know, people know them. They know them because they go to the cycling studio, they go and get coffee from the other one. And it's so great to hear their stories, and everybody's like on it, and they're great on social media, so they send it out, and it just starts going out there. But it's always about what's the story, what do we want to tell people about us, and I think you have to find your own personality and what you are as a municipality that you want to tell people. And you know, when you live here, you work here, and you have a passion for it, because you have to have a passion for it, then that gets over to people and they want to know more. I have a story actually. Before I left Pittsburgh, my last final year, which I knew were going to be my last final year, I called it the year of Sue. Basically, I was doing content up the wazoo on everything and anything, to the point I was going over with President Obama to Germany, representing Pennsylvania, and we were meeting Merkel and the rest of it. And my content was so good, it became part of the White House database for, and they still laugh about it now, for like their media people. I was hitting all that, and I remember still being there, and this tap on my shoulder, and the head of comms for the White House said, "Ms. Pegg." He says, "I didn't even have to." He says, "I heard the voice, I knew the face." He says, "You're on our database." He says, "Your content is so good." And it was getting so many hits because it speaks to people. And it hits, even to this day, I still keep in contact with him, says that it just great stuff that they could use. So just bear in mind your audience is the world. And, you know, you get people to follow you and do it. I think social media now has just got to the point where people want good stories, good news stories. They're sick of negative press. They're tired of it. They just want to liberty. Our police dog.
Yeah, we have a
Comfort
comfort dog now, and she's like maybe our
Megastar.
gold, honestly. But
Megastar.
I mean, anything with her in it is just like, you know,
Everybody knows about
The
it.
rock star.
yeah,
Rockstar.
she's adorable.
And
yeah.
she just looks at you, she smiles, and everybody's like, "Oh my, we love it." But people love that kind of content, and it's they want to see that. They want to see this kind of. We're sick of the negative news. Give us some positive stuff that's going on.
Stephanie, are you the public information officer for all the city departments? So you coordinate with all the departments? I want to clarify that you were just for the economic development
No,
branch.
for the city.
City.
Yeah, for the entire city
Okay.
of Concord. Yeah, so I work with all the departments
Okay.
across the city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, when you look at it, each department tells a different story as well, and it's definitely a challenge because, you know, police were looking at, this is what we do with crimes, and it can get depressing sometimes, especially with the spate of bad things we had recently. It was like, oh, this is getting depressing. Then, but now we have liberty, so you get spate in all these killings and bad things, and then stick liberty on, and everyone's, oh, it's liberty, we're good again.
Feel better, yeah.
Yeah, we're all good again. And so what's good about Stephanie, she's done so much to try and pull these departments together, to tell stories and you know, good stuff. And it was a challenge because people got to do this. It's ours. We don't go away. We don't want you to talk to us.
Well, it's good that you don't send mixed messages because messages are coming from one source, correct?
For the most part, yeah. I mean, when I got to the city, because people ask me sometimes, you know, like if my city doesn't or town doesn't have a Facebook page, you know, should there be one or should each department have one? When I got to Concord, each department really kind of already had their own identity and own brand per se. So to just say, oh, we're just going to use one page now wouldn't have worked. People would have been upset. And a lot of people, like, you know, if you're a parent, you just want to follow Parks and Rec and you want to know about the soccer and the, you know, whatever. You might not care what the Public Works Department's doing, but you can follow them too if you want. So really, the way that I look at our social media is we've got the city overarching brand, but then you've got the departments kind of underneath. And so everybody kind of supports that top line.
And do they run their own pages, or do they run through
They
you?
do. Yep, so I work with all the departments, and we kind of have some key social media managers in each department that run their pages.
Interesting.
It's a lot, we have a lot of pages.
It's kind of a hot topic in this town right now.
Can I bring up
a
something that
bit.
I've been slapped down on? And I spoke to Stephanie earlier. So Burbio contacted us, and I started working with them, and I gave them all of these different groups to contact. I gave them the information, or maybe just the website so they can go in and pull their own stuff. So for those of you who don't know, Burbio is an app, and you download it onto your phone, and it also has a website. And so there's various groups for Goffstown. So right now, the schools are on there, the library, the town hall, there's a few others, I can't remember what they are. I think baseball or something. So if you go and say to Burbio, okay, I'd like to see the information for these 3, every week you get an email and it will provide you with the schedule. So this week it'll say, okay, there's a meeting at the library, there's story time at the library, there's a meeting, there's a selectmen's meeting, there's this and that. And you choose which ones to add onto your calendar for that week, your own calendar on your phone. And then once it goes on there, as an example of a meeting with an agenda that's been posted, it will show up right on your calendar. So the agenda will be right there, very handy for people who, you know, like to look at it. So I brought this up. I worked with Burbio. I put several hours into it to try to get it up and running. And then I was told that we can't do this because it's a private organization, a private company, and that we would be favoring this particular app, and that we can't do that as a municipality, and therefore it can't be done. But I know of lots of other places that do it, and right after all of that happened, there it goes on Concord's website. So I'd like to hear more about how Concord felt that this was okay, and whether it's successfully used there.
And how do you make it work?
So one of our library employees first brought it to my attention because she was at a conference or something and someone talked to her about it.
So our librarian is not in favor of it. I've
Oh,
already
okay.
talked to her.
So that's really interesting.
That's so
Yeah.
funny.
So this particular employee brought it to me.
Although I will say my daughter is a librarian and uses it at her library.
Yeah.
I looked into it, and actually it was fairly minimal work for us because of the way that we have a Civic Plus website. A lot of municipalities use that platform. So Burbio can actually just pull from our calendars. So really all it took was a little organization on my end to say which calendars. And we just have so many committees and so many boards. So we decided to do just one calendar on just meetings because,
Yeah.
you know, if you wanted to know about that. But then our library has so many different programs. Parks and Rec has so many different programs. And then we've kind of got the occasional community events that are like, you know, maybe the 4th of July fireworks or something. So I mentioned it to the city manager and he was like, okay. You know, I mean, and I said, it's really not that much work for me because they're pulling everything from the website, the way that it's set up.
And there was no question about publicizing a private company or anything?
No. And funnily enough, I've heard constituents, so taxpayers, actually commend us for doing it and said, thanks for doing this.
It's great, especially for
Yeah.
people with young children that
That's what
have
they were saying.
Parks and Rec and library programs and things like that. It really, I find it to be so helpful.
Sounds like it
Great
creates an
service.
efficiency for the public.
And
It does.
Yeah, I mean, and
And
if
it's
you look
free.
I say you're
There's
not
no
spending any
charge.
money.
No.
at, right, yeah, it's no
And
charge.
what they do is later on, once they have enough people that are using that particular app, then they approach business owners and say, oh, would you like to advertise? Which has nothing to do with us.
Right.
It's just a whole separate,
How is that a bad thing?
well, that's what I'd like to know.
Well, my question is, it's just more of like the new website is powered by something. That's a
Yeah,
company that we
yeah.
use. How is that different
Well,
than
actually,
Burbia?
it's our own in-house.
Yeah, but is it not, there's no template that was used or wireframe website
Well, then
developed?
maybe, I don't know.
Well, that's what I mean.
WordPress
Yeah,
or
WordPress or
something,
something
or
like
any
that's a
of those.
private company
Right.
that we're using. So that to me
Makes
that's
no sense.
that precedent doesn't make sense.
I will say that I brought this all up when Adam was here. I haven't discussed it with Derek, because I kind of got my hands slapped, because I moved too quickly
We'll put the
with
other
it.
hand out and see what happens.
Yeah, let's try it again.
Yeah.
We need
I
to move
moved
forward
too
and do it
quickly
again.
with it,
Let's
which
try
is
again.
sometimes what I do when I get excited about something
Sounds
that
like
I
a
think
great
is
tool.
great, and it
The
was
taxpayers
disappointing.
really like, I've not heard anything negative, I've not seen anything, you've not seen anything negative.
No, they, because actually Parks and Rec is, because Burbio sends me analytics, reports, and our Parks and Rec by far has the most views on Burbio, and they're actually they're not even pulling the Parks and Rec events from our website, they're pulling them from Facebook, because that's kind of how
Yeah.
Parks and Rec operates a little bit. so.
Other groups that I provided them with, I think the Rotary is on there. It's still up and running, it's just that the town hasn't bought into it. I think the Rotary Club meetings are on there. There's another sports, I think it's soccer. What is that called, the Tri-Town Soccer? I think that's on there. At one point, they were looking at churches, and you can really go crazy with it.
Now, you mentioned Town Hall is on that.
Town Hall is on there.
What's on it?
So they're pulling the meetings, so what they're doing is.
Such as this,
Correct,
planning, zoning, whatever it may be.
yeah, and then the Parks and Rec, they're pulling their program schedule. They have, all the schools are on there. The library's even on there, although the librarian doesn't wanna have anything to do with the program. But it's on there.
As long as someone verifies that the information is correct, I don't see the problem. They're doing the work, and
But
we're
all-
benefiting
Free.
from their
All
work.
they asked from us is
Taxpayers
if
love
they
free.
could put a link, like Concord did, put a link on the town's
Website?
website to say, hey, here's an application you can use.
Okay.
Not saying,
That's the
this is
hook.
the greatest and the best, just saying, here's an application.
That's the hook.
And the more people that
Right.
use it, then they'll go out to the businesses,
Yeah,
and the
that's their
businesses
business
will
model.
advertise.
That's
and
their model.
That's where they'll get their money.
That's the hook.
But still,
But if the thing is, if it can be on there, it's on your website, that drives consumers and people to your website. It's gonna drive them there.
But you see more and more people are looking at the phones for what's going on.
And
absolutely.
people don't wanna go to a website and start searching for, oh,
Go back.
what's happening at the school
They want
today?
it
They want
right
it like
there.
that,
Can I change the subject?
yes.
Did you get a brand for Concord yet? Have you branded Concord yet? What is the brand?
If the physical brand you'll see, it's a shame I can't show you. There's no tagline, as I call it, there's no tagline.
It's the logo with the
With the wheel.
wagon wheel.
Now, is something special about Concord that attracts people part of the brand for Concord? In other words, we have the mountains here in Goffstown. We have two beautiful mountains in the background with hiking and such like that. Is that part of the branding process, or am I not understanding branding correctly?
Branding, it's great. I used to be a brand manager as well, so it's an interesting
I'm just laughing
concept.
because it's been a struggle in
It's
Concord a little
branding
bit at times. Like,
Concord.
do you have a branding
is
guide? No. Okay.
Mission Impossible.
It's this right here.
Yeah,
That's our
that's the- that's-
newest brand.
that's the
City brand.
city's brand.
That's the
Mine's
city's
more of a.
That's the city brand,
that's
that's not
the
hers.
city.
Yeah, it's a Concord
That's
coach.
the Concord Coach, the city
Right.
brand.
So, I didn't want to be known for the Concord Coach. People
fine.
yeah, I was like, it's been done, gone,
It looks
Bye.
like a hearse from the old days.
correct. And I just didn't like the colours, didn't like the thing. So, I used some of the colours from what the Concord flag, which is the blues and the yellows, and used those. Yeah, it's a very nice colour template. There's no tag, so in my previous role, not in Pittsburgh, but in England, I was brand manager for a company. And we used to have a tagline, I mean, but branding a region or a city or even a town is really, really hard because it depends on perspectives. So we could have a brand for the creative side of Concord, you know, the creative arts and that kind of thing. We could have a brand for the tourism side of things. For me, it was the invest. I wanted to look more than the words, so it looked neat and clean. If you go on investconcord.com, investconcord.nh.com. I should know that.
Chet already.
InvestConcordNH.com.
Brand is already.
Yeah, you already branded
We have a
it.
brand?
We have a brand. You
Where'd
know
that come
that?
from?
This one right here.
Chet, go
That
ahead.
sounds,
Yes,
yes.
so yeah,
Months
the
ago,
top
right?
logo is the.
Yeah, yeah, we've
what-
had it. It's
Where's
on the
our
website.
brand?
We use it on the
Larger?
website.
Huh?
Can you make the
Visit
logo
Invest and
larger?
Prosper
Sure.
You
VIP.
can see it at
Become a
the top,
Goffstown
yeah.
VIP.
On the website.
Visit, invest, and prosper.
This is theirs. This is what she's
Yeah.
talking about.
And you have that arrow with the forward motion.
So we're branded.
Which is awesome.
We're all set.
Yeah.
We are for the EDC, yes.
Not
Become
the
a
town
go-
necessarily.
Chad, check
They're
in.
on,
Good thing I know about it.
Become a Goffstown VIP.
It's right on the,
Right.
oh, you don't go.
Visit,
I don't
invest,
go
and
on this.
prosper.
I don't do
you see,
computers.
if I was gonna do a
Right.
tagline, I'd do something like moving forward because of the wheel,
We're gonna change that, Tim.
you know.
Send me an image and an email, will you? We'll read that.
Tim, she sent the link. Just click on the link.
What's a link?
Yeah,
Click
he-
on the
yeah,
link
he
on
has
your
no
phone.
Is that what holds my chain together?
When we're done at the meeting, I'll show you how to do it. It'll be right on your
I
phone.
don't wanna know how to do it.
You
That's the
need to
problem.
know.
I don't wanna
Yes, you do.
know.
So any more questions?
That's
for
what all
us
you
on
experts
that?
are for. I got the bulldozer to knock the garage
Yeah,
down
I'll
for
follow
it.
that bulldozer. I really wish I were in demo business, I can tell you. I just think, oh, and we have a gas house as well in Concord. Have you
Oh, the
seen
one
it
that
with
leans.
Yeah. Oh, man, the
Right next to
times I
McDonald's.
get calls about that.
Yep.
And it's a beautiful building, don't get me wrong. Inside, it's gonna take millions.
Oh, where Sandal Auto Parts is next door to it.
Have you ever looked at it when you come up to it? It tips, it's leaning.
Oh, and I've
Yeah, it's
been
leaning.
inside it,
Oh, yeah.
and it's even more scary inside
Yeah.
it. But
Is it out of service? Are
This
you,
is, Tim, this
Oh,
is
it's not
ours.
used.
oh, okay.
Show it to them when we're done.
VIP.
Thank
Oh,
you.
there you go. Oh, yeah.
Visit, impress, invest, and,
But what does it say in front of that, on top of that?
Got all those properties on
Become a
South Main
Goffstown
down by the
VIP.
railroad
Town
tracks.
of Goffstown,
They-
but you know, then
it
it
needs to
shows, then has the.
Recycled.
logo
I
underneath.
thought it said something about become a VIP or something.
It does,
It
become a
does.
VIP,
Yeah.
Okay.
yep. Visit, invest, and prosper.
I think the ideas that you've been very helpful with tonight for us is two things. We are on a track and we think we're going in the right direction,
Good,
which is helpful.
good.
Sometimes the track is a little bumpy and not straight, but
It's
that's
never
okay.
straight.
Right.
Yeah. it's not
And
straight.
some days it's faster than others, and most days it's slow and frustrating, and,
Uh-huh.
but as you said, it takes time. Tim, as you said, as that ring moves northward,
Yeah.
Rome wasn't built in a day. It's gonna take time.
It's moving, and it has to move out of Manchester, Bedford, and Hooksett areas. It has to
Yes.
move over into our town, which still has a lot of developable land,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
it does have essential services. We just don't have the interstate highway, which is what they all jump on, because, you know, you can get
Right.
right off the interstate and you're right there.
But as that's maximized, they need to
Three
move
lights on
north
the
and
interstate.
west.
Big deal.
You know, you've got the Bows, the Dunbars, you've got us, and even west of here. That's gonna change. It
You
may
think
not
so
happen
too,
for
yes.
10 years, 5 years, 10 years, we don't know.
We've got two major interstates.
Yeah, 89 and 93.
We're challenged sometimes. I
Right.
mean, really, and that's frustrating. But you know, I've just got totally. I go down to Manchester, and I still remember going to Manchester first time round and thinking, man, this place has had its day. It just really feels like it's had its day. And then you start going up the interstate, and you start thinking, it's coming, because people, as much as people rave about, oh, Manchester's got all this, and that, it's got a nasty crime rate, fairly high crime rate. Some of the buildings feel pretty icky. If you go out of certain places in Manchester, you really feel unsafe. And so it's got a university, give it that, okay, that's key. But then when you look at the university system in New Hampshire, we ain't that far away from any of the universities anyway. So I'm not going to use that as an excuse for not getting any development or workforce or whatever, because we're not that far.
We have,
Yeah.
a university too.
But it's like, for me, it's like anything within an hour's drive, you're okay. And so we have this stupid mentality that the Hooksick Tolls, which is stupid. People go, oh, don't go past the hooks. What in God's name is that about? It's $1.
That's less if you have an easy pass.
Right, exactly.
We don't want to go any north than Hooksick Tolls.
Go the back way.
And that to me is the most crazy.
Turn the tolls
thing.
down and raise the gas tax. Oh, we don't want to do that.
No, there you go. Yeah, don't want to do that.
We don't
But
want to do that.
it's the crazy excuse, but I really believe that concentric circles are starting. And I think having the faith in what you were saying, we're in it together, and, you know, if people ever want to talk to me or Stephanie, we're always open to, you know, talking. I really, from a professional point of view, I want to see us all rise together. So, you know, we're in it together, so let's
I'll be
rise together.
curious to see how you do with your Gazelle AI, the artificial intelligence, in getting that.
It's
where that comes, yeah.
expensive. That's
It is expensive, but there are some. other
Why is the cost so
programs.
high?
because it's using a lot of resources. That is
Proprietary.
part of the Financial Times as well.
It's a proprietary
Yeah,
software
it
too.
is.
And
Yeah.
what does it actually tell you?
Without showing you, it's really hard, but it basically tells you what companies are looking to.
Move to the northeast.
They have given certain numbers.
Yeah, we have that in real estate, it's called offers,
Yeah.
and it, OFF, RS, and it gives a number to the person and what their, how, the flexibility of when they are probably gonna purchase
Correct.
or sell.
It's using this intelligence to be able to predict
It's
it. on
artificial
different
intelligence.
platforms, yeah.
When you start seeing development in town, that's when you subscribe to that immediately.
Yeah.
But I'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah, I'd be
Again,
curious.
I'm kind of, is it worth,
Mhm.
because what I have to do in my schedule is block time out to do it. It's not only just searching it, it's then doing the outreach and then the
Probably not
follow-up.
at this time until you can get the rest of the group on board as far as your pad development and all of that.
We can,
you
but
know,
you know, I'm
it's-
kind of on about racing 2 ships, 3
Yeah.
ships at the same time, see what happens.
The pad development reminds me a little bit of the old certified sites program that was
We went through that.
Yeah.
pushed by Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission, and
We
actually have
accepted it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
in our zoning ordinance, and no one's ever used it. But what it did was it certified a site, they came to the planning board and got approval for sort of an idea.
Yeah.
They didn't have to do too much as far as the planning process went.
Oh,
And then
interesting.
It had rated like gold, silver, bronze, depending on how much work they
Regenerate
put
that.
into it. But it never really took
No,
off.
well, you can
Because it
regenerate it
never
in the
told me.
dialogue, but it's in our regulations. We adopted it.
I think most people don't wanna spend money unless they have a
Certified
client.
Sites Program, we adopted that.
So
I think
maybe
it's-
we should look
it's
into
a
that and
dog eat
see
dog because
how
the
we
client
can
says,
maybe
well, I don't want that unless.
Resurrected.
resurrect it on
I
our
don't get in the
website
middle
or
of those
something.
fights.
What it does is, I don't want
I
to,
just say, well, it's the opportunity and then just let them go for
Yeah.
it.
just to expand on what Joanne said, what it does is it provides a developer or someone with a low-cost methodology to get the site on the town's approval list for a certain size building, okay?
Right,
But then,
so-
once the person buys the property, they have to come back and do all the engineering.
Mhm.
But the site is acceptable for light manufacturing or something like that. And it is a pad-ready program, but it's not sewer and water are not on it.
Right, right.
There is, you have
But
to go
there's
through the
different-
whole planning process, where the redevelopment authority, sewer and water's here,
Right,
you can do it,
right.
they can
I
start
get
building the
that.
next day,
Yeah, I get
theoretically,
that,
as fast as
yeah.
you can get a building permit.
But it wouldn't be bad to have that on our website anyway, just to
They
show
could
that
access
it's-
the town's, is it in the zoning ordinance?
It is.
Yeah,
Right
they could
now it
access
is,
the
yeah.
zoning ordinance for the certified sites program. And it's all laid out, it's
I'm
spelled
sorry,
out?
it's the development regulations.
Okay,
yeah.
development regulations.
So, yeah.
But it never took off. I mean, Bedford adopted it, Goffstown, and maybe a couple of others, and it never went anywhere.
Well,
And
just-
Southern New Hampshire isn't even doing anything.
Well, how was it advertised too? Who
Well,
knew
we-
about it?
Well, they had a real estate network that it was gonna be
Yeah.
set through.
They did. It was a grant that they had at the time, and, you know.
Are they still operating it, Southern Hampshire?
no,
No.
no.
Well, that's ridiculous.
Interesting.
I think,
Different
didn't
people.
we have it on there, and then you clicked on it, it was 404 not found?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't there any longer.
But we still have we just don't have the advertising component anymore,
Mhm.
which was Southern New Hampshire Planning.
But if we put
Right,
it
but we
on
still
our
have it.
economic
We still have it.
development Website and just say this is something that's available and what it is, then, you know, who knows?
No,
Maybe
where is it
will.
on the site now?
On the development
It's in the
regulations.
development
You look in the development
It's under
regulations,
Planning and zoning.
planning and zoning.
Could under EDC, we have a link to that?
Right.
We could paste and copy the pages onto the EDC website if that's what you wanted. Look at those words I
Oh,
just
wow.
used.
Did that come from you?
Oh,
Was
I-
that all
I
from you
didn't-
showing them that screen? Pick it up again and show it to them.
I didn't say
It
that.
doesn't really work that way because the committee that was
I
going
have to have my daughter do that for me, but I can say it.
After it went to the, or while it was going through the planning board process, it would also go over to a subcommittee at Southern New Hampshire that would review it and approve it, and they had to pay a fee.
But they're not doing that
And
now.
they're no longer
Oh,
doing
well
it.
then,
So how does it work now?
yes.
It just sits there. I've been recommending that they remove it because we're redoing the development regulations soon.
But we adopted the terms and conditions of that program into
You'd have
our
to
development.
You'd have to change. It
That's our new
references the.
Well, we should
Southern New
discuss it
Hampshire
before we
site.
dump it.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, yeah.
Please.
Yes.
But
I'd
it
like to-
references.
I'd like to have it
the
brought up as
process.
an agenda item at the planning board, if you would, please.
So I
That'd be
want to
great.
go back to one thing.
On a
if we
late
can.
night, not one with 9 applications.
Go ahead, Chad.
Just a comment that I want to make sure gets into the public minutes. What I really appreciate about what you do is that you have it sounds like an independently run yet well-coordinated social media campaign to maximize impact and get things out that need to be out there as quickly as possible. I think that's great. So thanks for bringing that to our attention and explaining how it works.
No problem.
I second that.
That's outstanding.
Stephanie, could you leave your phone number?
Jen knows how to.
Official number,
Yeah.
not your home phone.
I didn't say it the exact same way.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been a process, for sure, since I got there, but I think it's, paying off,
Maybe this time
and
we'll
we're
use
seeing
public
some good, return on it and awareness, and our social media numbers have increased,
Tell you something.
pretty steadily.
Population
which
of Concord?
We have 43,000
Say 42.
residents, but obviously during the daytime, that grows to,
Of course.
yeah,
Oh, yeah,
pretty
it's
much
huge.
doubles, I think, with everybody working and.
But what's Goffstown's present population?
Right.
19,000?
It's about 19.
We're at half of what you are.
Right.
Plus,
We're big.
plus you've got St. A's with 2,500 students who are here 9 months of the year.
Yeah.
We're the biggest town that's not a city in the state, probably.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, there's a few others that
Okay.
are larger.
Well,
Londonderry.
we're close.
Londonderry,
Yeah,
Derry.
that's true, because
We're up there, though.
I think
Yeah.
we're,
I think we're the
around
14th, we're the
fifth.
14th largest community in the state.
14? I
Yes.
thought
I
it
would
was
make,
higher than that, but,
I think it's the 14th highest.
oh, no,
Maybe
it's the
higher.
13th, now that I
13th.
remember the website, it's the 13th.
that's an
Yeah.
unlucky
my
number.
lucky
Let's not
number.
use it.
I was gonna say, my lucky number.
Is it?
But yes, that's awesome.
Do we have anything else for these
We'd like to
ladies?
thank you both for coming.
Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely.
We hope you don't mind, I think you had mentioned that if we ever had further questions, if we could reach out to you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I've done it with other cities. I even work with cities from across the United States. I have people ring me from all over the place.
Is this your last stop, Concord?
I
Or do you have another mission in you?
I have to tell you.
I'm writing a novel. That's going to be my next, if that goes.
Yeah. I was in Steubenville and Mingo Junction.
Oh,
and
yeah.
How sad it is to see their downtowns.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Everything's boarded, nothing.
Where is this?
In Ohio because of
Yeah,
the,
Ohio.
We're
but
not
I
gonna
do
talk
understand
about
the
the
steel
website, are we?
mills have been resurrected in
No.
Wheeling
Good.
and,
We're done.
It's 8 o'clock.
where, Tim?
Meeting is
Where
already
to-
an
yeah.
hour longer than it should have been.
Wow.
Well, some
But
of
thank
them,
you so much for your,
It's interesting how
Surprise
you're
on
on about
TV.
redeveloped steel mills and stuff. In my hometown of Sheffield, they've redeveloped them into museums.
yeah.
Dover
So
did the same
steel
thing.
museums, yeah.
Yeah.
Dover does the
Dover
same
did
thing
the
with
same
them,
thing,
yeah.
So, you know, you gotta
Yeah.
think different. It's been a
Thank you very
pleasure.
much.
So much.
Welcome
Thanks
to
again.
all
Thank you.
Safe trip home.
Thanks. Goes to Mingo Junction, Ohio.
You did.
We will probably be reaching out to you again.
Oh, anytime.
Your writing is horrible.
Thank you.
It's horrendous. My writing.
The boss likes it.
Thank you very much.
He's a good boss. Thank you. Good night.
Safe ride home.
night. Motion to adjourn.
That was
I
ocean.
was-
That
I
I
was-
will say one other thing. I love your idea about the outreach only because we've got a window of time to do this.
Yes.
I think what she said about the concentric circles was something that I was thinking about for a while now, that after a while, Bedford and Manchester and
They're gonna run
all
out.
those corridor cities and towns are gonna be burned out.
They're gonna run out
Be no more land left.
to the point where it's not gonna matter about the interstate. One
It's not gonna
fourteen
matter
will be a
anymore.
major enough of a roadway to come out here and build.
So we have our own red tape that's in the way that stops that.
We'll find out.
Well,
So
we'll
that's
find
what I
out.
mean, yeah.
We'll find out. And I mean, that's where some of the things that with different boards and committee, they're gonna have to ebb and flow and make changes and adjustments.
And I would love to see the staff or whatever at our level really make a solid approach with the Board of Selectmen to get our own Facebook page squared away since we were denied, right? A
agree.
Facebook page.
I agree.
So Joanne, maybe a concerted effort on the part of this council to get permission from the Board of Selectmen to have a Facebook page for the council,
Absolutely,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely.
considering all the success they've documented with
And
us.
even to the point
Even,
of,
even further, Parks and Rec, almost
All of them, any of
do
them.
exactly
Every
what
one
they
of
were
them.
doing.
Right.
She just said out loud, the
I
use
think
has
it's
gone
time to
up.
push
she said
back.
fire and police have their own too.
Yep.
Would you do Burbio, please? Make
So,
sure
our
we'll
our
help you
town
with
has
Burbio.
fire and police have their own Facebook.
Yep,
Yeah.
Officer
Public
Pelletier
Works?
does a
We
great
should
job.
too.
I don't know why.
I heard that too,
I think
Heard
she
what?
left before the Burbio.
about the Burbia.
She heard it.
Yep.
Was she here?
Yeah, she was.
She was still here.
Okay.
Yeah,
I just wanted to bring this up. I don't know if you saw this in the news, but is there anything we can do to get some of these funds?
which paper?
This was the New Hampshire Business Review.
And where is it going, that 3 million, to the state?
No, different places, like the town of Lincoln, the town of Swansea.
It's coming from where?
From the Northern Border Regional Commissions funds.
Northern
Like-
border.
like-
Northern border?
Yeah, but town of Swansea got 500,000 to reconstruct a road and replace sidewalks.
Swansea's over near Keene.
Right, but there's Lincoln, there's Lakes Region Community College, there's Southwestern Planning Commission.
You know what it is?
So-
People who fill out grant applications get grants.
Exactly, why don't
Right.
we do that?
Does anyone, do we do grant writing here? Chief O'Brien, I thought, was the only one that did it. And he
On
was successful with the
occasion,
fire
they
department.
Do, but there's no like one person that's like a
Then the
grant
town
writer.
needs one.
Yeah,
They've gotta get
We
one.
do, we need to do it.
as long as the grant money is
Absolutely.
available
What is that
there.
for?
I'll give this to you.
I mean, those are the ones where you write them and throw it against
It
the
was-
wall and see what you can
Right.
get.
It's just, what it is just another avenue, not just this, but there's other places out there that we could go out to get grants, to get the gas lights, to get whatever we need.
It's a
for
revenue
ourselves.
stream that we
Yes.
need to tap.
That's right.
If someone was knowledgeable on grant money, the federal government gives money away by the
Yes.
bushel basket
bushel
if you
basket.
know how to apply for it correctly.
Correct.
Then how do we get about to go? do
Well,
we need-
that's a selectman's decision to hire a grant writer, and
Okay.
that's a conversation with the Board of Selectmen.
Okay.
Or to have
Duly
an
noted.
existing person,
Because I'll bring that up. That makes sense.
have an
What you
existing
got, what you
person
have to do
take
is you have to justify the position with the savings.
Mhm.
So that if a grant writer can write grants that equals and saves taxpayers their salary on an annual basis,
Then it's a
then the
given.
grant writer's a giveaway.
Right.
But wait a minute. We have a local college in town that have grant writing classes. And they have to write, I mean, I took one. We had to write a grant. And you wrote a grant and you had to submit the grant.
So then you
and
talk
had
to them
get
about
a-
an intern
and
with
you-
that then,
That's
too.
right. And you had to get a letter back
Mm-hmm.
showing that your grant was submitted and what the results were.
Maybe a,
So-
Independently, I will reach out to St. A's to see if we can do that.
Yeah.
And secondly, I'll talk to the select board about doing some sort of quick research project about similar towns and
Yep.
how much money a grant writer, if they have one, saves them versus towns that do not.
You know who gets lots of grants is the rail trail people. David.
Yep, David does a great
David's
job with
good
that.
at
Yep.
So there.
but to your point, Bonnie, if you could get someone from the college, it could be part of their graduation
Correct.
certificate.
Correct.
Well, that's
Right.
what you're saying.
That's what it was
Yeah.
for me.
It's part of their whole, it literally could be their thesis.
Yep.
Write a grant for the town of Goffstown, and they'd all be lining up down there to get their grants written so they could graduate with their certificate and
That's right.
their diploma, whatever it
Exactly.
comes.
So, I mean, it's just another avenue.
Good.
Anyway.
Are we stuck on St. A's, or would we go to tap New England College as well?
Anyone.
You
Anyone?
know, Granite
in
Granite
Henniker.
State College.
It's right up there too,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I used to work there, and I know that they do it.
Henniker?
Yeah, I used to, and I know they have I want to say BA or BS in social media as
Yeah.
part of their programs, and I know they do.
You
internship.
working there, you have a connection?
I
No?
don't think not so much anymore. The turnover there is
You've been gone too long?
I've been gone for about 5 years, so.
Didn't they just get taken over by,
No, they took over New Hampshire Institute of Art.
oh, they took over?
Yeah, they took over
okay.
them, so they-
So isn't there a new director at the college?
There's an executive director in the Manchester area. They don't. They still. President Perkins is still the overall president
Okay,
of
'cause
the
there-
college.
There's a, I don't know what his title is, but I saw a little story about them.
Yeah.
And there is maybe he's like the communications person or something, but he used to be the head of the consortium for all of the colleges, Tom.
So is it the University and College Council for New
He
Hampshire?
used to be the president of that organization. I believe he's
He's
now
at New England
working for
College.
that school.
Okay.
And-
Okay, so there's another school we can tap.
Absolutely.
Right.
We have so many schools in this
I mean, if you could
state.
get one for each, and they're writing grants, and we can get some stuff for that, based on some
UNH.
research,
UNH Manchester's right
and
there, too.
they're doing it for their degree,
Hesser gone?
then that's free help.
They still there?
Was there in
That's
UNH
huge.
too?
Oh, yeah.
That's UNH now?
Now, I know when Chief O'Brien was writing grants, and pretty talented at writing them, to get a ladder truck that cost this community $200,000, and it's a $1.5 million truck,
Right.
that's huge.
It's amazing.
It's huge.
It's amazing how much
Not
money
the only
you can-
grant, he received grants for
You get
generators.
the exhaust one, for the exhaust fumes, he got one, he got several.
He got generators for a couple of the town buildings as well.
But I know he knew how to write them. He was trained on it. And I mean, the intern piece, I think, is good. But I think as that ring, we'll call it, as it starts to move northward in this town needs to start thinking about having people that are on the payroll doing this.
Qualified.
Not to mention down the road is having an EDC person too,
Oh, yeah.
maybe part-time. Because we can only do what we can do as we're working.
Wait, that's Joanne's job. You want to take her job away from her? Cut your
My
pay.
thinking is for Joanne and others up in that office, you need help too.
Yeah,
There's not enough here
that's right.
to go out and really do what you need to be able to do. You, Nancy, anyone else.
I mean, you're a one-man show, one-woman show. It's true.
But there's a lot of opportunity, so that's
Ready
good.
for that motion?
This is great.
Bring it on, brother.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second that. Or Greg can second
All in
that.
favor?
Aye.
Tim, I'm proud of you. You